Hey y'all, it's Mary Hyatt, and I'm so excited you're here for this month's topic, which is all about money. But before we hop into today's episode, I gotta ask, when was the last time you thought about your relationship to money? Not just paying your bills and getting out of debt, but like your actual relationship to it. This month, as we explore this idea, I'm going to help you find more peace and ease when you think about money, when you make money, and when you give money away. I'm confident that after the next several episodes, you'll have a new money consciousness that will leave you feeling truly abundant. So heck, let's get into it.
Welcome to the Living Fully Alive podcast with Mary Hyatt, here to help you find your authentic voice, learn how to love yourself, and embrace your life. And now, your host, life and mindset coach, body love advocate, and doTERRA Presidential Diamond, Mary Hyatt.
Hey y'all, it's Mary, and I am so excited for this very special episode. It is our third episode in this month's topic, which is all about money, and we have brought on one of kind of my girl crushes, I have to say, Kate Northrup, for a just incredibly powerful interview where Lindsley and I get into this deep conversation around money consciousness. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Kate. So Kate is an entrepreneur. She's a best-selling author and speaker and mother, and she has built a multimedia digital empire with her husband, Mike Watts, that reaches hundreds of thousands globally. They are committed to supporting ambitious women to light up the world without burning themselves out in the process. Kate teaches data-driven and soul-driven time and energy management practices that result in saving time, making more money, and experiencing less stress. Kate has a membership of over 1,000 entrepreneurs called Origin Collective that's about infusing more feminine energy into your business and reclaiming your time. And she has also helped over 5,000 students heal their relationship with money with her signature Money Love course. Her first book, Money, A Love Story, has been published in 5 languages, and her second book, Do Less, A Revolutionary Approach to Time and Energy Management for Busy Moms, is now available wherever books are sold. Kate's work has been featured by The Today Show, Yahoo, Finance, Women's Health, Glamour, the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, Wanderlust, The Huffington Post, and more. Kate and Mike live with their daughters in a cozy town in Maine. So I am so excited to get into today's interview. So without further ado, here is our interview with Kate Northrup. Hey, everybody. It is Mary, and I am hanging out with my BFF and co-host, Lindsley Brooks. Hey, sister.
Hello.
Oh, my goodness. Guys, what a fun month we are having, diving deeper into this conversation about money. I have absolutely loved getting your feedback, your comments, your money story woes, and how this is just so poignant and just really divine timing to have this conversation. And it's just been fun to see where y'all's stories kind of really line up with Lindsley and I's stories and some of the similar fears and limiting beliefs that are showing up for you. And obviously, Lindsley and I have been on this beautiful journey of figuring out our own blocks with money. And we're still in that conversation. I mean, is it ever really over, right? It's like there's always things that are popping up. But because we love this topic so much, and because it's something that is, like we've said on the past 2 episodes, it can be heavy. It can be a little taboo to talk about. And I thought, what better way than to bring a fabulous expert on to have an even deeper conversation about money today. And so I want to welcome our very special guest, Kate Northrup. Hi, Kate. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Man, we are just
Yay.
flying high.
Yes. So grateful you're here with us today.
I'm so grateful to be here.
Oh, man. Well, we are excited about this conversation because you have been somebody that Lindsley and I have, just sort of followed over the years and have gained a lot of inspiration from. And your book, Money, A Love Story, has been really just transformative. And I know I can speak for myself, just shaped the way that I've thought about
my relationship to money. It's helped me get honest with my money, which was a very scary thing. But I'm curious, Kate, obviously this is something that not everybody decides to talk about or write a book about. And so take us back to what got you to the place where you thought, I'm going to write a whole book about money.
Well, my story is not going to be like, I'm just going to tell you the truth, which is what I always tell, but it's just like not what you might expect, which is basically that I was running these workshops called Women and Wealth, these free workshops around the country when I was living for 10 months with my now husband out of my Prius, traveling the country on the road. And I was teaching these workshops as lead magnets for my network marketing business at the time. And then I got invited to teach one of them, but like a content only version, like a no pitch version at a conference in New York City at, oh my gosh, her name is escaping me. She's like a mega famous designer at Donna Karen's Urban Zen.
You know her. Yeah.
At Donna Karen's Urban Zen venue with my friend Megan Watterson, her Reveal conference. And I gave my talk, and afterwards, there was a woman who came to the talk named Patty Gift, who was the head editor at Hay House at the time. And she said, I want a book. We want a book from you. And I was like, what? And then I basically gave them a whole list of ideas of potential books that I could write. And Reed Tracy, the CEO, was like, do the money one. And so I did. And I wish it were a more magical, sexy story, but that is the story.
No, I love it. I mean, it's like to have that moment where somebody is recognizing what you're doing and to invite you to sort of take it to the next level. I mean, I could just imagine it was like, oh, okay, let's do this. All right, let's go for it.
Yeah. And it really actually, since you're talking about money stories and abundance and beliefs about money, it really challenged my own beliefs about abundance and whether or not there's enough to go around. Because I remember when I got the deal, I thought I actually tell this story in the book that I should have been ecstatic. And actually, I was really sad. And the reason I was really sad is because I was operating under this belief system that if I got to have this moment, like if I got to get this book deal, that somehow meant somebody else who wanted it more didn't get to. So the whole process was also an opportunity for me to shift my belief system and challenged, whether or not I actually did believe there was enough to go around.
Wow. I mean, I think that's so common. I can remember teaching a workshop about money. And one of the things that I said was a limiting belief is that it's like, there is this pie in the sky. And if I take a piece from the pie, then that's a void that doesn't like regrow, or you don't get, refill of the pie and it goes back to wholeness. It's like, I've just taken something out of the universe away from somebody else. And there's this limited amount of slices of pie that are available.
Yeah.
And I just think that's a very common limiting belief around money. Like if I take something, now I have, potentially robbed somebody else of that opportunity. Oh man. What a deeply limiting belief, truly.
It really is. And it's really not true. I mean, we just have to really, first of all, money, and this is one of the main premises of my book, that money is made up. It does not exist. And so it really is just this system that we created as humans. We fabricated it so that we could trade value for value, because it wasn't working out anymore to trade like sheep for bags of beans.
Right.
We needed something as a stand-in in case we didn't have the beans right then. Or
right, exactly.
We didn't want the sheep, but we wanted something else. And so that's where money came from. It's a fabrication of our human minds. And so that in and of itself I think is such an opportunity to lighten up about it. And just
Yes.
to say, okay, this whole thing is all made up. All the different countries are printing the money and making up the money. It all sort of exists in computers somewhere. And there is not a limited amount. There are more than enough resources on the planet for everyone to thrive. And the reason not everyone is thriving is not because there's not enough. It's because certain people are hoarding resources.
Mhm.
And so that's a whole other issue with greed, which is kind of I think that we have the limiting belief of there's not enough to go around. And if I take some, there won't be enough for somebody else. And the shadow side of that belief is greed, which is I have to get everything so no one else can have any.
Mm.
And they're opposite ends of the same spectrum, and both of them are sick.
Yes. And that's one of the reasons why I loved even the name of the book is like Money, a Love Story, because most people don't ever put love and money, in the same category. And so say more about like, what is a money story? So for like people that aren't familiar with that term, because we're using that kind of, candidly here, but say more about what that truly means when you say a money story.
Hey y'all, I just wanted to interrupt this episode real quick to remind you to subscribe to this podcast. I know that emails get lost in your spam folder, so subscribing means my episodes come right to your phone. So go ahead, hit that quick little subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any of the Living Fully Alive episodes. Plus, in addition to subscribing to the podcast, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel as well. I don't know if you know this, but I have been releasing guided meditations every Monday over on YouTube, and you're not going to hear them here. So if you've been wanting to start an easy meditation practice, subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you don't miss out on my short 15-minute guided meditations. All right, now back to this week's episode.
Yeah. So your money story is the narrative that you have lived and that you are telling yourself and others about your relationship with money. So some of it is fact, and some of it is what you have made those facts to mean. And so the opportunity that I present in Money, a Love Story is to write about your money story and to check out which part is fact, which part is kind of like just the facts, ma'am, like this actually happened, versus which part is what I decided to make it mean. Because while we can't change the past, we can absolutely change our response to it. And our response to it is everything, because our response to the past is creating our current reality. And it's also simultaneously creating our future. So if we want a different financial situation, I do think going back and finding new ways to see what has happened to us is such a great opportunity for change and such a great opportunity for healing, because we all have the control to change our response and our perspective. And that is true liberation.
It's so true. And, I'm thinking of somebody who might be listening who says, yeah, that's great, except for I just opened up my bank account and I'm in the red. And that's fact, today I'm in the red. And maybe they work at a job where they only have, maybe it's by the hour and they can only work so many hours or things like that. How does a money story play into your current reality? And how would that, by like learning about your money story, how could you go about shifting something that it could actually like change your numbers of your bank account? Like how does that logistically work with just new awareness?
So there's kind of a cycle of awareness and a cycle of creation, which is that our thoughts create our beliefs, which create our actions, which create our results. And then those results reinforce our beliefs, which then create our actions, which then create results. And so to change the cycle, we need to address our beliefs. And when we shift our beliefs, our actions change automatically. Most financial literacy, most financial education approaches it from, if you would just use this app, or if you would just get in the habit of saving or spending less than you make, then you would have more money. But having tried all of those things myself when I was in debt and I couldn't get out, and I was in the red also when I would look at my bank account, because once I stopped using credit cards, I started going into overdraft on my checking account all the time.
Mhm.
So same,
Been
same
there.
doll, different dress.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so but like there was no app or financial management spreadsheet that was going to change the belief that I had, which was essentially that I didn't deserve or wasn't worthy enough to thrive.
Right.
Mhm.
And we,
For a variety of reasons,
Mm.
right? And so I also want to acknowledge that there are systematic layers at play in our culture that have it so that certain marginalized groups have it tougher than others.
For sure.
Privilege is a real thing. And so
Mhm.
I am not telling you that your belief system is responsible for systemic racism, for
Right.
example.
yeah.
Those things are real. And yet, there's also an opportunity, no matter what our situation is, to change our response.
Mhm.
And I have seen many, many people who come from unbelievable circumstances turn that around through addressing their own belief system. Because also, if we want cultural change, it starts with our own individual belief systems shifting, because the culture is us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Preach it, girl.
Mhm.
I could go on a whole soapbox about that. I just
Mhm.
couldn't agree
Mhm.
more. So this is kind of an interesting thought, but when I think about the idea of shifting the beliefs around money, I feel like there is a step that we're missing, that maybe that's step 2. And step 1 is being willing to look at your bank account, like get honest with
Yeah.
where you're at. Because what I have found is my history was when I was married, I had a situation where we just buried our heads in the sand. I mean, it was like our accountant was telling us, hey, you got to create a budget. We were like, yeah. I had no idea what my money was doing. I was literally terrified. I shared this on the podcast last week, that I was just terrified to look at what my money was doing. And when I started to make money in my network marketing business, all of a sudden I needed to look. I mean, it was like my coach started to challenge me, like, Mary, you got to know where your money's going, what it's doing. And the thought of just opening up my online statement felt like, I mean, it was like physically nauseating
Mhm.
to do that.
Mhm.
And so how can we encourage people, or how would you invite people into that first step of sort of radical honesty without it making you shut down so much that you
Mhm.
just totally bolt and you're done?
Yes. So the trauma response to that for some of us is so real.
Mhm.
And I really want to say that the avoidance is a coping strategy that is helping you avoid feeling something that is real.
Yeah.
And so there's no shame or blame coming from me on that. I also spent years not looking. I had a great deal of baggage around financial conversations, having witnessed so many painful ones between my parents.
Mhm.
And so for me, I had a belief that looking at money and talking about money caused conflict. And as a child of divorce, that actually was like a very real thing in my family. But I needed to change the story, because the story was holding me back. Because when we avoid looking at our money, it turns into emergency situations that could really be avoided. And it creates a lot of drama and chaos that sucks our life force and prevents us from showing up and doing the work we're meant to do here on the planet. And so I recommend what I did, and what I've recommended time and time again to people who've taken my courses and read my book, is to get a buddy. So I love the buddy system, and I recommend finding somebody safe who will not judge you, a loving, safe, non-judgmental person who can sit with you and do this.
Yeah.
And I personally at the time had a financial coach who was helping me. I think somehow I managed to have a few sessions for free. I can't remember how that happened, but so she was on the phone with me, but it could be a friend. It could just be a friend who's like a little bit better at money than you are. And to go through and look, and I think I have like a checklist of items to look at in my book, Money, a Love Story. I certainly have one in my course, the Money Love course, but you kind of know the deal. Like to know it would be to fill out like a balance sheet for yourself. So you know what's in your bank account, what other assets you have. So the value of your home, if you own a home, if you have any retirement accounts or anything like that. And then what you owe. So any debts, line of credit, anything like that. So you basically kind of know and that's like a personal, oh my gosh, my words today.
You're good.
What is it? Your net worth.
Yeah.
Hello. That's called your net worth.
Got it.
And so you can sit with somebody and do that. So a buddy system really helps. The other thing that I have done to help myself show up for things I don't want to do and get over resistance is I do things to make it more fun and pleasurable. So for years, to get myself to do my money love date, where I looked at my numbers every week, I would pour kombucha into a wine glass. I would light a candle. I would put on sexy underwear. I would play a favorite song. I would eat dark chocolate. I really had to love myself up and almost seduce myself to do it.
Yeah.
And now my husband and I have our money love date every Friday. It's like clockwork. We both look forward to it every week, and it's really fun. And it took us years to get there, but it was totally worth it.
I love that. And because what I hear you saying is you're dedicating time to show up for your money, but essentially it's like you're dedicating the time to show up for yourself. I mean, there's an aspect of this that is very, it is about self-care, and it is about changing your thoughts about not only your money story, but also about yourself. So will you say more about what self-care has to do with money?
Oh, yes. So money, similar to our time, actually, time and money are these two sort of energetic resources that we have access to, but that we see as limited. And they are a direct reflection of our sense of self-worth. Because now I'm not saying that if you're not making as much money as you want or whatever, that means you are not as worthy as a person. All of us are inherently worthy. I don't believe we have to prove our worth through productivity, through achievement, or through wealth accumulation.
Right.
However, if you are having struggles financially, chances are really good that the root cause of that is a lack of self-worth. And some of the more current work that I'm doing with my new book, Do Less, and the time and energy management practices are also rooted in the same thing, which is that when we have chaos around time, or when we're hyper productive and massive overfunctioners, which I bet a lot of you who listen to this are, that also is coming from an inherent underneath lack of self-worth, because either we are trying to prove how worthy we are through achieving, or we are not charging enough, or we're over giving of our time, or we're not looking at our money because the chaos or discomfort that creates feels like more of a match with what we think we deserve.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, I mean, I think this is really so interesting when you think about it, how women relate to money versus how men relate to money. Like, I feel like, at least in the South, I'll speak from a nice little Southern woman view, but like there's some challenge, I think, mentally for women to go out and have a career and make money. It's like there's these two sides of the coin, kind of like what you're talking about, that I see at play. One is there is a fear around making money. Like, I shouldn't make more than my husband makes. There's a fear around what that will say about me. Like, maybe I'm a bitch if I am working and not staying home with my kids. And the flip side of that is I got to hustle, as Brene Brown would say, hustle for my worthiness, hustle, work too much, overtime, neglect myself, neglect the kids. But I think what's so powerful is when we look at this kind of woman's approach to money, it really is, if you boil it down, this self-worth issue. Like we're either trying to make ourselves play small because we don't deserve it, or we are trying to earn that lovability. And, what I find fascinating about all this, at least part of my story is, and Lindsley, I think you can probably relate to this as well, is that at least in the South, it's like, I grew up where it's like, this is a man's job to make money.
Like to deal with the money.
Yeah. Well, exactly. To deal with the money, to pay the bills, to make the money, and to shift into, okay, I'm a woman who, I'm an achiever. I love to work. I love to do things, but I know all my stuff is like, if I could just have a man do it for me, it's like, I had to really challenge myself with that, but it really comes from, I think I'm stupid with money. At least that was my old belief, right? Like that I thought I was stupid with money. So do you find, Kate, that like when you're dealing with women in particular, are there issues that come up as it relates to a woman making money or trying to hustle and juggle and have all the balls in the air, that is something that unique to women, or am I wrong here? And it maybe is just a universal thing and men feel the same way.
It's such a great question. And I will say, just listening to both of you, it's a little different where I come from. I mean, it's really interesting just to hear the just from Nashville to, I grew up in Maine, and then I lived in New York City for quite a long time, and then I moved back to Maine. So I've always been a Yankee and a Northeasterner. And it's not to say that, our country wasn't founded on the same principles of patriarchy, which is that basically like women are good for sex and taking care of babies in the house. And then and men are superior, essentially. Yeah. And they are, superior and therefore more equipped for the outer world. And so that, hey, we still both live in the same culture, but some of the messages are just like a little more extreme that you're sharing, which is just fascinating to listen to. So thank you for sharing. That being said, I do think that the message is more pervasive that women are not taught to consider themselves good with money because of the hangover of a time like 30 seconds ago, historically speaking, when women weren't out there making money. So yes, we've come a really long way, but like just a second ago, like white women got the right to vote in 1929. Mm-hmm. And then black women, it was much later. And so we just have to consider, like, it's been less than 100 years that anybody in the United States considered a woman valuable for more than pleasure or child rearing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it's just, and
it totally makes sense that we're a little bit like still confused about whether or not we're good with money. But the data shows that women are actually way better with money than men.
Well, and if anything, I mean, it's almost like this whole idea of what you're talking about, that patriarchal mindset of just like, something is going to come rescue me, like the white horse and the Prince Charming. And I know you talk a little bit about that in your book, but it's that idea. It doesn't even have to be a man per se. It's just this idea that something else is going to like either come in and do it for me, or they're going to just completely, I'm waiting. It's almost like this waiting game for when I'll finally deal with my finances and show up and look at my, financial situation. And so say more about what that really looks like, because it can come in many shapes and sizes. It doesn't have to just be a man, right?
Oh, absolutely. And, an element of this that I've learned since writing Money, a Love Story is that, I mean, I knew it before, but I just know it really in a much deeper way here now, is that we as women, it makes sense that we think someone else has to swoop in and do it for us because we have been talked out of our power from day one.
Yeah.
We have been told that we are inherently flawed for being female. So of course we think someone else should come do it for us. Okay, so what the financial journey is, what all of the work that I do is a reclamation of tapping back into our interior source of self, our interior source of wisdom, and our interior source of power that is self source so we can build this self-reliance and know that we have more than enough to get the job done. Not to say that we have to get out there and do it alone, because that's like a whole other conversation, but that we have what we need inside of us. But yeah, absolutely. I think that this manifests as wanting a man to come take care of it for us. It manifests as expecting the government to swoop in and handle it for us. An employer, a parent, I see this a lot, which is women not really letting go of the ledge of financial support from their family, because deep down, they're not sure if they can create it on their own.
Bingo, guilty.
I love it.
I was guilty of this myself. And listen, if you're listening and you have inherited wealth or whatever, like, I think that that's a whole other conversation that I'm not someone who can lead, because I'm not in that situation, where I'm sure there are really conscious, powerful ways to use that wealth without, like, you know, feeling the need to cut yourself off.
Right.
But I just don't know how. For me, I had to fully detach. And it was the best thing I ever did.
Totally. Well, I can relate to that. And growing up, and my father is very well known. And I went into sort of the pendulum swing where it was like hyper independence. Like I was like, I'm going to prove that I don't need you at all, that I can become successful on my own, and I can do this absolutely 100% without ever asking for your help. Like, I'm going to show you how smart I am, how capable I am, which has its own, I mean, so many shadows to that. It's like not a system, not a paradigm that actually works also, because it's, you know, there's no interdependence. It's all, I got to be hyper self-reliant. And that is I mean, it just causes all kinds of issues, obviously, with intimacy and just community and honestly, the beautiful parts about family, and owning our story and where we've come from. But you know what this kind of triggered for me, and I want to shift a little bit to talk about with the time we've got left, is the idea of manifestation. Because I think in our world right now, especially when it comes to money, there's so many conversations about manifest, you know, however many, you know, weeks to manifest everything that you want in your life. And there is this idea, I think, out there now that we can just sit back and let it come to us. And it's interesting because, you know, on one hand, I'm like, yes, like for women, I think we need to reclaim our femininity and learn how to open up and to receive and to operate from a place of flow. But I'm curious for you, and obviously because of the new book, which is about doing less, where do you find that balance between sort of doing the work, showing up and getting honest about your finances, showing up for work, planning, goal setting, all of that kind of stuff, reading books, educating yourself, and then letting your higher power or the universe kind of have a play and hand in that, where you sit back and you don't hustle so much. So where do you find that balance between doing and being?
Yeah, well, I really go based on how things feel in my body. So I'm going to give you a brief little tutorial on something called egg wisdom that I think will help model this for women, because it's basically this is how all of us were formed. Every one of our bodies started in this way, but this is a metaphor for the creation process and for the manifestation process of any of our desires, and anything we want to fertilize in the world, be it an egg, literally, like if we want to make a baby, or if we want to make a book or launch a business or have a dinner party. It's all the same energy. And so this is a concept I learned from my mom. And basically what happens is once a month during her reproductive years, a woman releases an egg from her ovaries, and that egg puts out this very strong signal. And that strong signal actually tells the sperm where she is. But it doesn't only tell the sperm where she is. The signal is so strong that it has the ability to speed up the rate at which the sperm swims to her. So the egg sits And she's very clear about what she wants, and her clear desire allows it to come to her more quickly.
Wow.
Then when the sperm shows up, it actually is trying to, all those, if you've seen the video, all those like millions of sperm are trying to get in. So the egg has very good boundaries. She is really clear about what she is not allowing into her experience. And she chooses which sperm she will let in. So she has great boundaries, but she's also receptive to the right thing. Then once the sperm is in, she has the ability, if there's anything wrong with it, to repair its DNA. She actually can make it even better or egg it on, as we say.
Oh, that's where that came
I
from.
love that.
I don't know. It's a fun use of it. And then they travel down the fallopian tubes, and she has enough nutrients within her to feed them both for several days. So she also brings a picnic, just like we women do. We make everything better and more beautiful, and we bring snacks. And so that model of getting clear on our desire. Now, the egg is not running all over, going down to see if the sperm is coming, texting 25 of her girlfriends to see if they think she should, go like text him to check. Is he going to call? Like the whole thing, right? She is sitting in her eggness, and she is attracting what she wants. Now, that is really the feminine principle at work.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I love practicing being the egg because I am a woman who has a very well-developed masculine, and I have no problem going out there and doing all the things to make sure I get what I want.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for you listening, only you will know if you need to practice more on your action taking or more with your egg wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
There are women who really do need to focus more on getting off their bums and taking action. And then some of us, so some need to do more and some need to do less.
Mm-hmm.
And you can only identify that for yourself. But the way I decide if I'm doing too much or doing too little is, does it feel good? And if it feels good, if I'm feeling in flow, if I'm checking off the items, if I feel aligned, if I'm doing outreach, like from an aligned place, it feels really juicy and fun. Versus when it feels really hard and heavy and like I'm pushing a boulder up a hill, that's how I know I need to move back into egg wisdom and be more still.
Mm.
Gosh, I
So
mean,
good.
I was going to say, I've never heard it described in that way.
I love it. Yeah.
Freaking brilliant. Oh my God, that's so great. I love it. Well, and I think you're so dead on. I mean, it's just like you're going to kind of have a temperament that is either geared
Yes.
towards more doing or geared towards more being. And like you said, this isn't a black and white answer as far as that goes. I mean, it really is, like you said, getting into your body, listening to your own wisdom. You know where you're hiding. You know where you're
Yes.
kind of like avoiding some things. And I'm the same way. I definitely am bent towards the masculine. So I have to really work at being. And I've really learned to just embrace that and love it. Like, oh my gosh, now I kind of have to kick myself into the masculine. I was like, all right, come on, girl, let's go. But Kate, kind of just to bring all of this full circle, you talked earlier about, okay, when you have a thought about money, that creates an emotional reaction to it with the meaning that you're putting on it, which then of course leads to some kind of action that gives you this result. And the result is this current state of life. And so I'm curious, when I think about, okay, what is this? Why does this matter? When we have this conversation about money and we're thinking about where are we headed, when we think about creating a new result in our relationship to money, a new way of thinking about it, a new way of being with it, a new way of just relating with it. And because you were further in on this journey, because you've kind of created a new result for yourself, can you share just the hope of why is it worth the energy to dig into your money issues, to dig into your money beliefs? What are we hoping to get? What's the new vision and the new result that people can kind of be excited about, looking forward to?
Oh, I love this question. As somebody who's been on this path and has helped shepherd along many other women, as well as just witness the transformation. Here's the thing. Financial avoidance, financial chaos, financial drama, lack, fear, all of it is just a way of playing small and holding back our gifts from the world and preventing ourselves from fully showing up and shining. So I don't know what the vision looks like for you listening, but I do know that on the other side of this work is a life beyond what you ever could have imagined. And the space that is available when you no longer have financial fear and chaos ruling your world is so profound. You will blow yourself away by what you can create with all that leftover time and energy.
I mean, it's true. If you think about how much energy that we have given to the stress of our finances, and when that no longer exists,
it's so real.
Wow. I mean, like what that opens up. I mean,
it's the mental bandwidth alone. I would think about something else other than all your financial drama.
Yeah. I mean, it's freedom, really. I mean, it's like, yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so, it is so hopeful. And I've experienced that myself in my own life and can attest and say, yes, what she is saying is so true. And it just opens up the door for more creativity and more joy and just the ability to be more present for what is here, which to me is, I mean, gosh, that is life. That is the gift that is here for us. Kate, I know just after this conversation, people are going to be like so eager and excited to connect with you more. Is there a favorite spot that you love to send people to? Do you have anything that is coming up in the next few months that might be just exciting to share with us? Anything that, just so people can find you and connect with you?
Yeah. So my website is the best place to come find me. I'm at katenorthrup.com and all of my stuff is there. For sure, of course, my book, Money, a Love Story, my new book, Do Less, is there. And I do have a free weekly Do Less planner that you can download, which is a really beautiful way to make sure that what matters gets on your calendar and that your life doesn't get taken up by the demands of others and by the demands of things that do not matter.
Yes. Well, and I think going into this new year, so perfect. I mean, so many of your latest podcast episodes have been amazing as well for just getting organized, starting to plan, goal set for next year. And so I think, please check out Kate's podcast as well. But we'll link to all of this in the show notes. So no issues there. Lindsley, anything else you want to share?
No, I'm good. I want to hear Kate keep talking. I'm like, keep it going, girl.
Oh my goodness. Well, truly, thank you for being on the show, for being so generous with your time and sharing your wisdom with us. And this is a conversation I think that is continual. It's not something you visit once. Like one of the things I loved that you shared is you have a money date every Friday with your husband. I mean, just that's amazing. Is there anything that, like, one little tip as far as like just something practical like that in just this new way of relating to money? Anything that has been like a game changer for you that you might want to share?
I mean, a game-changing just get started tip is to look at your bank account every day. Look at your bank account every day, but with an added twist, which is as you look at your bank account, actually also be at the same time thinking about what you are grateful for and the ways that your life is abundant right now. Because what that will do is it will begin to rewire your brain and change it so that looking at your money feels good as opposed to feeling scary. Because we can't feel fear and gratitude at the same time. So that's my get started tip.
I love that.
And you know what? I just remembered, Kate, one of the things that I love that you do share is how you renamed your bills folder. Will you tell everybody what you renamed your bills to add on to this whole gratitude shifting mindset?
Yeah. I did not make this up, but for the life of me, I cannot figure out who did. So if anyone knows, please send me a DM on Instagram at Kate Northrup. But it's invoices for blessings already received.
Ooh.
Isn't that beautiful?
That's
I
so
love
good.
that. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Well, Kate, thank you so much. And of course, everybody, please connect with Kate on Instagram, Facebook, on her website, and we'll link to that in the show notes. But I think it is time for us to sign off because, like Lindsley said, we could just go on and on and on.
Yeah.
But y'all, this is the journey, right? It is just this willingness, just listening and being on this podcast, listening to it in the first place is such a powerful and brave step. And I hope that you will share this with somebody who needs this conversation as well. And, who maybe in a place where they're ready to hear this. So if you've got a girlfriend in mind, if you've got a family member in mind, go ahead and share it with them. But we will be on for our final episode next week when we finish out our whole month's topic of this money conversation. But until then, please remember that the purpose of life is to be grateful, to be great, and to be full. We'll see y'all next week.
If you love today's episode, make sure to share it with your girlfriends, or heck, post it on your social media channels and invite your circle into this month's topic of money. And if you want to keep the discovery journey going of living more fully alive, check out all my past episodes from the podcast over at maryhyatt.com/show, where you'll also be able to grab the show notes for this episode. Again, that's maryhyatt.com/show. See y'all next week.